Hello and welcome to my YouTube channel. I'm Judith Patterson. I'm an independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator in Texas, and today I'm going to show you how to create just a simple little card for a new friend or an old friend. Friends are great to have, and it is nice to let them know how much you appreciate them being in your life. So I'm going to be using Happy Hedgehogs and some Stampin Blends and just some fun cardstock and a little piece of Designer Series paper from the Tea Boutique Designer Series paper. Okay, so I'm going to begin with this 2.5 by 4-inch piece of basic white cardstock, and I'm going to use my early espresso ink pad. I didn't want to get out a lot of ink pads since I'm mostly using blends today, so I'm just going to be using the early espresso. Okay, and then I'm also going to stamp the little bird with holding the flower on this same piece. There we go. And then on a scrap piece of paper, I'm going to be using the hedgehog stamp. And again, I'm using just that early espresso ink. But before I do it, I want to make sure I'm stamping the right way. So this is going to fit in my punch this direction. So I know I want to stamp on this side. Okay, I'm going to start by coloring my hedgehog. I'm going to use the light crumb cake Stampin' Blend to color just the inside of his ear. Then I'm going to use that same blend, going to go around his ear a little bit, and I'm just going to color, and it's not the same blend, it's the same color, but it's the dark blend. And I'm just going to color around him with this one. Not doing any fancy coloring, just want to get some color laid down on my little hedgehog. So I thought it would be fun to look up some hedgehog facts, since I'm using this as my stamp of the week this week. And I posted a few of those over on my YouTube page. Well, it's a group. I posted it in my YouTube group, and I included a link where you can find out more hedgehog facts. There are so many things about these little guys that I had no idea about. So it was pretty interesting just looking some of that up. If you're interested in those, of course you could Google hedgehog facts, or you can join my Facebook group. I would love to have you over there. And it is a private group, so it's just us crafters in it. And you can look that up and follow that link even for more. Okay, so I'm using the dark blend, and I'm going to keep using that brush tip because it's a little bit finer, a little easier to do this tree. Okay, so now I'm going to grab my Old Olive blends. I think these are probably my most used green Stampin' Blends. Maybe, I'm not sure. I really like all of our greens, but I know I use these a lot. So I'm just going to color the grass with the light one, and then I'm going to go over the leaves with the darker one. You can switch that around if you want to, whatever you prefer. Okay, and then the flowers, the inside of them I'm coloring with my light Pale Papaya. And then the petals, I'm going to be using light Fresh Freesia. I just realized I didn't color this little leaf on my flower, so I'm using the dark Old Olive again. And then for the bird's beak, just real quick, I'm using dark Pale Papaya. I'm going to use dark Fresh Freesia to color the buds. You can see I got out of the lines a little bit there. So I'm grabbing my color lifter and just using the tip, I'm just going to go over that real quick. And that'll lift some of that color off. And I'll show you in a little bit what that looks like once it's worked its magic. Okay, so I've got my dark balmy blue. I'm going to use that for the bird's end feathers, I guess. I don't know what bird parts are called. I'm going to go over the end of the bird's feathers on its wings with that darker color. And then I'm using light balmy blue to color the rest of the bird. And then just to add a little bit more, I'm going to go over these wings again with the light balmy blue too. It just helps darken it up a smidge and kind of blend all that together a little. Okay, so I'm going to use my punch to punch out my little hedgehog. If you find that your scrap of basic white isn't quite big enough to be able to reach, didn't realize you couldn't see what I was doing there. If you find it's not big enough or long enough to reach in there and position it as well as you would like, you can always grab just a little Post-it note and stick it here on the end and use that Post-it note to help guide your cardstock into the punch. Okay, so the card base I'm using today is Granny Apple Green. It's 11 inches by 4 1/4 inches, and I scored it here at 5 1/2 inches. Then I'm going to place this piece of Tea Boutique Designer Series paper. I've cut down to 5 1/4 by 4 inches. I'm just going to put that here on the front. This is beautiful Designer Series paper. It does have several pieces that have teapots or teacups on it, but it's so good for all kinds of things because the back of each one has a floral or a design or a geometrical design on it, so it's very versatile. Okay, so now I have this piece of Granny Apple Green cardstock that is 2 3/4 inches by 4 1/4 inches. I'm going to put my stamped piece on top of that just with liquid glue. You can use Stampin' Seal if you prefer. Okay, and then I'm going to use dimensionals to put this piece on. And I'm just placing it here towards the bottom right corner. Get it as straight as I can before putting it down. Okay, and right here is where I had gone out of the lines, and as you can see, it's pretty much completely cleared up now that that color lifter has mostly dried up. Alright, so for my hedgehog, I'm placing my hedgehog down here too. And I want him, I'm using a dimensional to kind of pop him up off of this piece, which means I'm going to need 2 dimensionals on this side. So I'm going to do 1, peel the backing off, then I'm going to place another one right on top of that, peel the backing off. It's not perfect, that's okay. Then I'm going to just add another, you know, I like dimensionals, so I'm going to use a couple of them here. And then I'm going to place this little guy right about here. Okay, so I don't have a sentiment yet, so I'm going to grab a scrap piece of fresh freesia. I'm going to decide which way I'm going to put this in. Oh yeah, that fits that way perfectly. Okay, so I'm going to stamp my sentiment on this end here. And I'm using the Finding a Friend is the best discovery of all. And I'm, again, just using that early espresso ink. I'm using my rectangle punch here. And I'm going to do the same thing with this one. I'm going to pop it up. So I want this top right corner to be 2 dimensionals thick. And everything else, I'm just going to put 1 dimensional on. All the other corners. So this one is going to go right up here, just overlapping the top of the tree some. So there is the front of our card, and I don't know how I keep getting out of that camera so much. Okay, so there's the front. For the inside, I have a piece of basic white cardstock. It measures 4 inches by 5 1/4 inches. I use that measurement so much. It's the great, perfect measurement for the inside of a card or the first layer on the front of a card. Okay, so I'm using the early espresso to stamp my mushroom, and then I'm going to use the early espresso again to stamp my butterfly. And I'm going to have my butterfly not quite landing on the mushroom, but close. So for the butterfly, I'm going to use the dark crumb cake for the body. And then for the wings, I'm going to use dark fresh freesia. For the mushroom, I'm going to use my dark pale papaya. I got that out and I used it a little bit, but I haven't used it a lot, so I thought, why not add it to the inside on the mushroom? So I'm going to use the pale papaya now for this part of the mushroom and to color in the little dots. For the stem of the mushroom, I'm going to use light crumb cake. And then I'm going to use, the light old olive again for the grass. And then that can just go right inside the card. There you go. And ta-da. So there is a quick friendship card just to let somebody know that you're glad they're your friend. Thank you so much for watching my tutorial today. If you liked it, give me a thumbs up. If you haven't subscribed to my YouTube channel, I would love for you to do that. Just hit that subscribe button and you'll be notified whenever I post a new video. I post one a week these days. And like I said earlier, I would love for you to join me over on my Facebook group. It's small but growing, and I hope to have lots of discussion and sharing of creative things over there. Let me know if there's anything that I can do to help you with your stamping journey, and have a great weekend. Happy stamping!